See where that broadhead came out at? Right on the money. Came in high, came out low. How far did that deer go? About 40 yards, piled up. That's exactly how it came out. I just took the broadhead, put it back in the rib. You can see where it broke the rib bone. I'll walk around with that so you guys can see it. And the reason I'm doing this is for you first time guys, you haven't seen this. You see that broadhead coming out of there between the 7th and 13th rib? See the broadhead? That's a perfect shot right there. It don't get any better than that. That's right where it is. Now keep in mind, that's right behind that muscle. That's the V that you're seeing. That's not bone. At no time can this bone get back here. It's not physically possible. What you're seeing is this muscle moving back there.
I don't know if Donnie went through this with you guys or not, because I hadn't been in here all night. But if you look at that bone structure on that animal, that's just a standard whitetail deer. But look how heavy that bone is at the top of that deer. And you cannot believe how many times I have guys come in my shop every fall and say, well, I shot that deer right here. Just like this. He was right underneath me. I was 18 foot in the air and I shot him right here and he was close.
And we'll get through there.
And look at that. You've seen those limbs deflect, I'm sure, when you've been at different shoots or shot your bow somewhere and seen an arrow deflect. Just think how much that bone can deflect those arrows.
Yeah, and as it gets up in here where the heart is, the bones, you notice how thin they are back here? When you get up in this, by the heart's protected with bigger bones. But while we're on that, this front half of the deer anatomy, this dark or purple is the diaphragm. Anything forward of the diaphragm is the thoracic cavity. That's where the lungs and the heart lay. Anything behind that, this black blob or the blue, that's the liver. Basically, when a person tells me they got a liver shot, they got a gut shot. Because once you get behind that diaphragm, you're in the gut area. What do you do when you shoot a gut shot deer? You got this is going to happen to you. You shot it through the guts, and you know you shot it too far back. What do?
Back out. Go back tomorrow.
Back out. Come back tomorrow. You shoot it through the guts. I can guarantee you, if you do that proper, you'll find that deer dead. If you screw up, probably won't find the deer. Where may you start your hunt? What will they usually go to? Water. Yeah, because that dehydration starts and they get real thirsty, and you go check your. That's another thing about knowing your land, know where the water is. So you might, if you can't find a blood trail, go check out a water source. You'll probably find it pretty close. Hopefully you find it there. But if you bump that deer and you get impatient and you lie to yourself and it's in the guts, you'll probably lose that deer. So I've never. I shouldn't say never. No, I've never lost a gut shot deer. I've never lost a gut shot deer. Simple fact is you've got to be honest with yourself, and you know it's dead. You just leave. You already made one mistake. Don't compound that and sleep with a very, very ugly woman. I mean, that keeps you up all night long, and it's agony. And you see all the different veins that run through that, and we won't get into that because we've got a lot of ground to cover. But anyhow, you get them in that lung area, they're dead, but that scapula never does cross that lung area. It's the meat that you're seeing. Here's another scapular where it penetrated the whole animal. Now, you want to know how diversified these animals are? How tough they are? You can shoot them in the scapula. And a lot of guys, oh man, that poor deer went off and died and blah, blah, blah. Just because you shoot it in the scapula doesn't mean it dies. They can live. Here's a scapula that I found, and the deer didn't die that day. You can see how it healed back together. It was shot past that around. Here was the other scapula that went to it. Now that did some serious healing. And it was a buck. It was a very, it was probably a mature buck. because this was a skull that I found with the scapula, but the whole body was there, so you can see where the antlers had fell off. So apparently it died during the winter after it shed it, but it lived probably a couple years to heal that up like that. So just because you shoot one and you get it in that scapula doesn't necessarily mean that it's dead. So now, are there other places on a deer that will cause a deer to succumb to death other than the lungs? Yeah, you don't have, if you get a marginable hit, this deer was shot through, he came through this side, which would have been the right side, right in front. It hit that rear bone right there. That's what that red mark is. Their arrow missed its mark. It came through, it glanced off. It came behind here and cut the femur artery. How many people have heard of the femur artery? Well, that's what this line, it runs right down the back leg, the back ham. It cut that one. See this picture of all this blood on this tree? See how bloody that's that tree right there. Now, naturally it's not as red as it was because the blood fed out. The deer was very much dead. And, but that, when you're blood trailing deer, you want to be real, Sherlock Holmes. You got it not only on the ground, up on the bush. This looked like a neon sign. I mean, that thing looked like somebody flagged that. And I was going to paint it and keep it that same red, but I just decided to let it fade out with age. But that was, if you hit that femur artery, that's what killed that deer, deader than a doornail. So you can kill them, because that's just like shooting them in the heart. That comes right from the heart. And when you shoot that, that runs the whole length of that. No matter where that's cut, you're going to die. And so you can get a marginable hit, and it'll bleed out real quick because it's under pressure. And that's the femur artery hit. But when you're tracking blood, and we're going to go into that right now, what some of the things you're going to need.